1, 2, 3, 4.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Left in the Void. I am one of your three hosts, Justin Tyne, and we had a lot of different things planned for this episode, but what it ended up being about, go ahead and take a guess, give you a second. Oh yeah, January 6th, when a bunch of people stormed the Capitol, and three had a heart attack. It's kind of what we have to talk about. It's a huge point in American history, as embarrassing as it might be, but we're going to try to break it down and figure out, what happened, why it happened, where it happened, who's responsible, where are we going from here, and how are we going to deal with it, if at all. But thanks for coming back, and without further ado, here's the show.
Welcome to Left in the Void Pod. I'm Aiden.
I'm Brian.
I'm Justin. So, interesting thing happened on January 6th that's kind of unavoidable that we're going to have to talk about, that we want to talk about.
It's about the only thing I can think about as of right now, so.
Well, and the order was odd because we woke up. Aiden and I, at least, we're seeing it happen at the same time. This was the order of my day. Check to see what happened with the Georgia elections. Get stoked.
Which was good.
Then I saw that link you sent me of that junior congresswoman quoting Hitler.
I forgot all about that.
Yeah, I forgot about that too. Hitler.
Yeah.
What did she say? Something like, "Well, Hitler
said
did
Hitler was
something
right." She said Hitler was right.
Hitler was right about one thing.
If you have the youth, you have the future, right? Isn't that something?
Yeah.
She's saying we got to get Hitler Youth started back up again.
It was so out of context.
Representative from Illinois.
Well, so when
what's wild about that is actually the people who were at the Capitol building. One of the guys on his flak jacket did have a Hitler Youth knife. I was like, oh, this guy's fucking listening.
Oh, geez. Yeah, I'm not surprised
Not
about that.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is after Aiden had showed me that video, I was like, I gotta go on Twitter. There's probably people making all kinds of funny memes out of this. So I did, and then I saw that thugs was trending, and I was like, oh, cool, some racist shit. So I clicked on it, and it wasn't that. I mean, it was racist shit, but not the kind I thought. It was the Trump supporters storming the Capitol building, and it only escalated from there, as we all know now. But when we first tuned in, it was literally them at the barricades. The barricades hadn't been opened yet. But yeah, my productivity went into the shitter that day because that was a work day for me.
Yeah. Oh boy, that's about all I've been able to focus on for the last 3 days.
Yeah, I'm bummed I didn't get to watch it in real time with you guys. I was working on something else, and I think it was like 3 or 4 in the afternoon. I pulled out my phone, and one of my sister had texted me like, you turn on the news. I was like, why? And I like looked at my phone. As soon as I opened Instagram, I was just like, what the actual fuck is going on?
You could
so caught off guard.
See that our Discord was on fire and our Instagram chat, and everyone was like going off talking, and like every channel we have like posting what the fuck's going on and memes and all kinds of good stuff.
Well, my phone was blowing up, and I was like, "Oh, this is getting annoying. I'll just deal with it later." And then I was like, "I should have dealt with that earlier."
That's funny. Yeah. Well, the thing was, I was curious. I was like, "Where has Brian been like all day?" I was like, "I haven't heard from Brian all day." Suspiciously, just flown out of Providence, Rhode Island, to visit me, and I was like, "He just drove down to the rally. He never got on the plane."
That guy with the buffalo hood, that was actually me. I'm trying to infiltrate the left. So I can
that was my suspicion. Yeah, suspiciously in the amount of time it would take to get back to California on a flight. You were like, did you guys see the shit that was happening?
Hop on the webcam, eyes are just drained, huge bags under my eyes, got tear gas.
We saw your photo there, Brian.
Oh. So like what was the real timeline for this? I mean, like we have people getting up to the barricades, right? Like how long was it before they kind of like started breaching the barricades? Because those videos were like some people were kind of like let in, and then other ones were like the cops were actually like trying to like hold them back.
I mean, they were there pretty early. They just kind of hung out outside for I think a decent amount of time before like they were like shaking barricades and stuff, but eventually like there's videos of just like the pigs just sliding the barricades over for them, letting them through. I'm sure everybody's seen the videos, them just walking by Cops standing there. One of the cops says, "I don't agree with this," while everybody just walks right by him.
I want you to know that I'm deeply opposed to what you're doing. I'm not going to do anything against it. I'm deeply opposed.
I won't do anything in my power to stop you, but I am very opposed.
I
So
just
is-
got this image of like Dale Gribble from.
That's what I was
Yeah,
channeling right there.
that's like everyone who was being interviewed too.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was about 2:00 that they had arrived. Trump's rally that he held before the Save America rally or Save America March, Save America something, had concluded. He said he sent everyone down there to go show support, and also like told them that they needed to fight like hell because they didn't fight like hell, we wouldn't have a country anymore. So like it was imperative that they go down there and show how mad they were that the quote unquote the election had been stolen. And it wasn't long after that, if they arrive at 2:00, that by 2:30, shit started exploding. Like not literally, but the Trump supporters had been throwing like tear gas into the building.
So I was wrong.
About which part?
Shit went down about as soon as they got there.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is like the next recorded event, but when we were watching, like it was escalating up to that point. I think they were pushing past the barricades not long after they'd arrive at 2, but they were like getting into the building by 2:30. Like they were in there. Just before 3. This isn't like obviously a minute by minute breakdown, just like a turn of the events. There were recordings of shots fired, which now we know turns out to be that woman who was shot in the neck. Yeah, a woman from San Diego. Yep. And then by 3 p.m., the mayor.
Was it the cops or Secret Service that shot her?
I don't actually know if it was Secret Service or beat cops. I think it was Secret Service. I think I want to say
I think
that.
so too.
Not that the distinction means much to me.
It does for whoever is held responsible for it, which obviously no one will be held responsible, but like they shouldn't have shot anybody.
I agree. That's one thing about this whole thing was when all the violence broke out, and I understand we don't like these people at all. They just stormed our Capitol building, but I still don't like police violence regardless. It's not a good it's still not a good thing.
Yeah.
But if it's going to happen and it happens when you're storming a Capitol building, like you shouldn't be surprised. Like go ahead. Yeah.
It's infuriating to see the difference between how the pigs treat the Black Lives Matter protest versus this, the
Yeah.
the Capitol March, where they're just like handling everybody with kids gloves, sans the girl who got shot to death, but like
Mhm.
one person, right?
Mhm.
And you've seen how the rest of the crowd was treated. Like it's infuriating to see the difference there, but like I I want I want them to treat the Black Lives Matter protest like they treated the Capitol March protest, not the other way around.
Right. Well, and the thing is, like I think it was Hassan made the point first that I saw, but I mean, obviously everyone's going to have this take. Like the reason it wasn't more violent is because the police didn't escalate the problem.
Yeah.
Things always get way out of hand because the police insist on using violence. This is an example of what can happen when police, just in terms of how much violence is divvied out, always, disproportionately on the side of those who are protesting. If you're not a Trump supporter or conservative, but yeah, like they let them through.
That's not to say they should have let them through. They should
No.
have
Yeah,
held
yeah.
their ground and not let the people through. But like, if it was Black Lives Matter protest, they would have been fucking gassing them the second they got close.
It'd have been a bloodbath.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not saying that they should have let the people through, but in general, in confrontation with the police in any protest, past, present, and future, those are the kinds of tactics they should have always been employing, which is to not escalate the violence. But we don't get that luxury. Racist, violent Trump supporters do.
Police didn't do anything to stop or really slow them down much,
And that's the thing. Like, if you look at like if all this, man, like let's look at it this way. There's what 2,300 Capitol police officers in DC, right?
Mhm.
And their budget is like $460 million. It just goes to show you that throwing money at these institutions doesn't actually keep anybody safe or protect anybody. It's like once they have that money, they're gonna do whatever they want with it. If they choose not to stop people from protesting, stop people from pushing into the Capitol building, they're not really going to.
If a militarized police force can't stop the Capitol building from being occupied, why is the police force militarized? I mean, I'm
Exactly.
already against the militarized police force, but if that's their argument, like if you can't protect the Capitol, then we don't need you at all.
Yeah.
True.
The thing that I'm concerned about too is like after all of this kind of dies down is what kind of legislation is going to be put forth by both the Democrats and the Republicans to like try to hinder further protests.
That's what I was trying to get at with like, the reason that this happened is because the police were there, letting people in. And we've got like our Democratic Congress people up there saying, we need like legislation to make it illegal, what they did. Like what they did was already illegal. We don't need new legislation. What we needed was like the institutions that are set up to stop this kind of thing to actually work.
Mm-hmm.
Which would include not letting the president antagonize a mob into the Capitol in the first place.
That
He
would
should
be
held
one thing.
responsible for his actions so that people can't do what he did again. Because they wouldn't have done this had he not, for years, just been encouraging these people and leading up to this moment. This is the catalyst of 4 years of him just saying, like, I'm the only one you can trust. Everyone else is against you. Get behind me. If you don't support me, the country's going to die. And if you believe that for so long, I'm not surprised when he said, go there and fight like hell, that they did, that they did storm the Capitol. Are you guys surprised?
Not surprised, no.
I'm not surprised that it happened.
I was surprised. I'm not surprised that it happened, but I was definitely surprised when it happened.
Yeah.
Like I didn't expect it to when it still came as a shock when everything actually started going down.
Yeah, it's crazy to see. I guess I couldn't say like I expected them to storm the Capitol building.
No, yeah.
I knew that it would manifest into some, action, but I didn't know what that would look like.
Mm-hmm.
We do now.
Yeah, and I think the other thing too, like I'm not surprised that a bunch of Trump supporters and like people in the alt right and far right all stormed the Capitol building. I was surprised at the fact that Donald Trump was just like, yeah, go do that, like go down to the Capitol building. Which, like, for me, I never figured that he would have like a direct hand in it. He would have been like loosely trying to guide them from a distance rather than being upfront and being like, no, go do that now.
Well, he also said, "I'm going with you," then got into his car and drove away.
Yeah, what was the exact quote?
On TV.
Hold on, let me really read the exact quote from this.
Yeah.
This is during his speech. It says, now it is up to Congress to confront the egregious assault on our democracy. After this, we're going to walk down, and I'll be there with you. We're going to walk down to the Capitol. We're going to cheer on the brave senators and congressmen and women. And then there was another part too. I don't have the exact quote for it, but he's like, we're not going to be cheering on all of them, though. You got to fight like hell. We'll never take back our country with weakness. And then just immediately hops in his motorcade, just putt-putts off
out of there.
It's some Looney Tunes shit.
Exactly. It's just like, oh, it's just
Let's
so funny.
go. When the crowd like turns away, you just like sneak off into the shadow.
Yeah.
People have been more up in arms about it, afterwards. But like right after this happened, when Congress went back to session after they got everybody out, to finish the vote, that all the Democratic and Republican senators were up there grandstanding, talking about doing the same fucking thing, like the same thing that caused all this, saying the election was fraudulent, yada yada yada. And Democrats were up there, blaming Trump, but not blaming the Republican senators who are literally right there next to him, advocating the same shit that caused all this.
Yeah, no, you're right.
like Democratic senators just refuse to hold Republicans accountable for their role in this. And like I think that's dangerous that if we let, if we let the blame all get put on Trump for this, because it's not just Trump. This sort of thing was there before Trump, and it's just been gaining steam with him.
Yeah.
No, you're right. That's a really excellent point.
Yeah.
I mean, then
It
that
kinda makes
has,
him into like a martyr, you know?
well, and the thing is like he's not going to be a part of the government going forward, but everyone else that Aiden's talking about will be.
Mhm.
And like Aiden's saying, this is an issue that isn't going to go away when Trump leaves office. I mean, it's a systemic issue throughout this country, and it deeply rooted in our system of government. So now, what are we going to do to make sure that the people who enabled Trump to, one, get in power, two, enabled him while he was there, and three, literally did nothing until a mob stormed the Capitol, aren't allowed to let that happen twice?
Mhm.
We're only guaranteed 4 years of Biden, which doesn't mean anything good's going to happen, but it doesn't mean that, we should stop
2
giving
years.
shit about what?
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you know what I'm going to say. Like, I've said it a million times. We still need to be vigilant about, the kinds of politicians and leaders that enable Donald Trump's existence and behavior.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Had to take that
absolutely.
base.
And we only get 2 years of the Democratic control, right? We have Democratic control already. That's going up to shit because whatever his name is, Mike Manchin doesn't want to vote for $2,000 stimulus checks, right? One Democrat and it's all fucking over. But
Right.
but now it's Democrats' fault, so that's good, right? At least there's no Republican boogeyman because they have the control. Not to say that Republicans like a boogeyman, like they're not responsible for all this, but like if Democrats don't do anything, their shit is there's nothing for them to hide behind. Like they're obviously to blame. They have control.
Did you have something you wanted to add, Brian? Sound like you would say something.
Oh, I was just curious who was like Mike something.
Mike Manchin, he's a senator.
Okay, I'm just not familiar
Virginia,
with them.
senator for Virginia, Democrat. He's a Democratic senator for Virginia. That part's important because we now have a 50-50 split in the Senate, which means with Democratic vice president, that means Democratic control of the Senate. But half those Democrats, probably more, are fucking, they're gonna do the same shit that I don't know.
Right. No, you're right.
They're similar.
That's why we're not 100% celebrating Biden's victory. We're just celebrating the loss of Trump generally,
So correct me if I'm wrong. This is just kind of like my speculation about everything that's been going on at the Capitol building and moving forward here. That nothing's really going to change from this one instance, except for the possibility of having stricter laws against protesting.
Yeah,
I don't feel like this was like beneficial for Trump's base because like then you have the possibility, and this is again just like my own speculation, that the evangelical right or the Christian right might be upset with how this kind of played out, and then you have kind of the fracturing of his base, and even people who are like very strong Trump supporters maybe like, oh, like I don't really agree with what just happened and what went down. Like we all had this plan, or I say we as a quote unquote Trump supporter have this idea that we don't go out and protest like that. We don't go riot. We're all law and order people.
Wait,
And
who's we?
I'm just saying, like, as like a Trump supporter, like if I was a Trump supporter, like that collective we, like, because that's a lot of like law and order as their base, and then just watching that kind of like fraction out might end up destroying some of the base for him. And then for the left, I mean, there wasn't really much going on there with us.
Yeah, they've been looking pretty fractured.
Yeah, because then you have like all of the senators too, who like as soon as like Trump lost the election, like they just hopped off the boat, like fuck, awesome.
And the Trump base is devastated right now.
Yeah.
They are losing their shit.
Yeah, especially when he started talking about like election fraud and stuff. A lot of Republican senators and congressmen just like weren't backing him up. They were just awfully silent after being so supportive of him for so long.
Yeah.
Well, and those Trump supporters too, right now they have a choice. They're either going to go back to being like regular Republicans who just do what Republicans do to show how shitty and racist they are, or they can go and continue their alt-right motivations in a new way. And
Mhm.
actually, you know, like that's bad. That's always bad. We don't want that, but it's always been there anyway. It's nothing
Mhm.
new. I think honestly, and like you guys can give me your take on this. That's good for us as leftists, as like the radical left, because
Mhm.
if the Republican Party fractures enough and they don't have that strong base, it gives us on the radical left finally like a position to push harder on the Democrats, you know, or like push more of the things that we feel instead of having to constantly bite our tongues and stand toe to toe with Democrats because alt-right's doing it with the Republicans. So now
Right.
that there's like a clear, I think so, a clear line between radical left, moderate Democrats, Republicans, you know, alt-right. Those alt-right folks have always been there,
Yeah.
Mhm.
but we need more of like the, you know, socialist, anarchist, anarcho-syndicalist, what have you, insert your flavor of the terminology,
Yeah.
you know, to this is a time for us to show that solidarity, take some power and implement some of the things that we want to see.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You
And
know, that's my take on that. But
yeah, because it seems like you're just talking about like the unveiling of like, oh, this has always been here, but now that the veil has been taken off, and now people are going to see it for more a genuine version of what it is. Like this is what the alt-right movement looks like when they start breaching
What
places, going in.
Republicans are gonna?
No, I'm just saying like the country as a whole.
A lot of those
Like
are
with
Republicans.
alt-right.
sorry, I mean the moderates might be surprised, but we're not. Like we
No,
already
we're
know
not.
what they look like. Yeah, but
Yeah.
if you were like some dude who's like, well, I'm voting for Trump because I think he's going to be good for the economy, and then they storm the Capitol and kill a cop.
See, that's the guy I'm talking about. I'm talking
I
about
don't
that
know,
like very
man.
centrist, like moderate
That
Democrat,
dude's not
Republican.
like not a conservative anymore.
Right. I'm not. I don't think he's gonna dump his conservative ideology, but I
Right.
think
So then
he's
what's
gonna look.
changed?
The people who aren't going to leave the Trump base, those alt-right folk, I think might, I don't know, I feel like they might stop supporting the Republican Party.
Oh yeah,
They're
sure.
going to go try to do their own thing. They're going to maybe try to break off and start some nut job alt-right party.
I don't know. They might be back in 2 years.
Yeah, we don't know. We have no idea. But that's kind of my, I don't want like a fascist party in this country, but I want the
At
power.
least it would split. At least it would split the Republican Party.
That's what I'm saying, man. And I mean, then we can have things like, these are the things I want. Like I want the DSA to be able to safely eject from the Democrats so
Yeah.
that they can have like a completely independent moving democratic socialist party in this country. I see that as an opportunity, not just to like, you know, unify with the Democrats to take power from the Republicans, because fuck them too. It gives us an opportunity to solidify and kind of make our agenda more powerful. Which
Yeah.
if we were going to do that through Biden before, if the Republican Party fractures into lots of other little factions, fuck it, let's start one of our own and also advocate for the things that we want, because that's the way it should be.
Wait, the Democratic Party is. I mean, I can't even say the Democratic Party because the left is already fractured into hella different
Right. Yeah, but I mean into
different
like,
factions.
it's fractured, but I mean like literal political parties.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, no,
yeah,
we all should have our own fucking political parties that actually work, you know?
Yeah.
First past the post voting is terrible for democracy.
Yeah. I would love to just see a fracturing just in the essence of like the hopeful creation of like more political parties. Like I want to see more people on the ballot than just like Republicans and Democrats.
Yeah,
Like, I
that's
wanna
what I'm
see
saying. We need
politics-
ranked
yeah,
choice
exactly.
voting.
Yeah, exactly. With ranked choice voting, and then also like having more political parties, like it'd be so much more beneficial for like the consensus of ideas.
More and more places are putting in ranked choice voting in the US.
Mm-hmm.
We got like a lot of cities, a decent amount, not a lot, sorry, a decent amount of cities and you know, a few counties and districts and whatnot have ranked choice voting implemented. We just got to spread it, you know.
Yeah, and I know too. I think we talked about it previously on the pod. I don't remember what episode, but like how a lot of places had passed the law to allow for ranked choice voting, but there wasn't like a set structure of how they were going to go about it. But they had approved it, which is
Mm-hmm.
for me the step in the right direction. Like, you know, figure it out. But let's get the concepts down on paper and what we agree on. Yeah, we're going to go about doing it. Yeah.
got to keep stepping though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. No matter how fast or slow you move, just don't stop moving. Progress is progress. I don't want you to make the leap in one night. I don't want you to take 17 years to do it. But like, just keep going, man. Just keep going. Is all I ask.
Just you know, there are a few Congress people that have been, you know, trying to hold accountable, the Republicans, not just Trump, but the Republican Party, and like specifically like the people that have been the worst. Like what's his name, Hawley, Senator Hawley.
Not familiar.
He's the guy. He was one of the big. Fuck it, I can't remember what the fuck he did, so scratch that. But anyway, like the Justice Dems, Ilhan Omar and AOC have been going hard on like specific Republicans that were integral to, promoting the Trumpist. I shouldn't even say that. That's not that's attributing it all to Trump again. But this conservative nonsense.
Right.
But really, it's the Republican Party as a whole, even the ones that weren't big Trump supporters, were just as complicit in it.
I agree.
And Democrats have consistently failed to hold them accountable for any of their shit.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry,
someone's got an email.
Yeah, that's me.
One of the things that was like most embarrassing for me, during this whole thing, was then reading the reactions of world leaders right after. I think there was a BBC had a collection of quotes from like, obviously Boris Johnson had an opinion. Evo Morales had an opinion.
Even BBC's headline, I clicked on BBC just to see what like somebody not in the US had to say about it. And BBC's headline was like so much more like this was early on. So NBC was still calling it like a peaceful protest while people were shattering windows and shit.
Right.
And BBC's like fucking Trump supporters like in attempted coup try to storm the Capitol building. I was like, wow, BBC, you're on top of things.
Yeah, well, it's not
the funniest part about it was just like the news organizations trying to jump around like how they were going to like refer to these people. Like, are they Trump supporters? Are they people in Make America Great Again attire? Like, like the different ways we're going to kind of skirt around what to label them as. Going to crack me up, because if you look at like other protests like around the country, like what happened with like George Floyd and like Breonna Taylor, like it's always just been like, this is what we're calling them. They are Antifa and Black Lives Matter protesters. Like that's what are the rioters. But this is
rioters, not protesters.
Rioters. This is like, we'll just skirt around on these possible labels.
Yeah.
But don't make them
they spend as long as they possibly, even MSNBC spent as long as they possibly could to avoid calling them anything but peaceful protesters.
Yeah. While we were watching it live, there had actually been like, they're like, well, we can't confirm a gunshot went off, but like, everyone heard a gunshot. And you and I were watching it the whole time. And the reporter was like, from my point of view, it looks peaceful. I'm like, you're like fucking 600 yards away. Of course, you shut up. Get off.
Meanwhile, there's people like putting up nooses saying like hang Pence and shit.
It's just absurd, man. It's just absurd.
Just the way that it was portrayed from like a major news source is just wild to me. Like it's very peaceful, and then people are like erecting like nooses saying like to hang Mike Pence. People are like shooting in the background.
That's the thing.
They got a fucking gallows set up. Like, what the fuck do you think they're there for with a gallows set up outside? They're there to go. They're there to go cheer on the fucking senators.
Dude, I like how the conservative like weapon, like historical weapon of like, we're gonna take you out, is like this racist fucking noose. And the left, it's a fucking guillotine, which is arguably the most at its time humane technology to like kill somebody, but still has this like symbolic power. It's like, I'm gonna cut your head off, and they're still like, here's some racist shit. We're gonna get you, Pence. Like, motherfuckers, you guys don't even know how. And then that chick came out. Right? She got maced or whatever.
I love that video so much.
Everyone was like,
the Animaniacs lady.
Yes. Oh my god. Yeah. But like, she was like, I'm having a revolution. I'm like, bro, dude, you come on. No one really thinks that they're starting a revolution, turns to a camera with their face, like just full on, just be like, my name is Stacy Madden. I'm from here. Here's my social security number, and I broke into the Capitol. You people are dumb.
Why would they mace me?
My favorite part about that is
the cops maced us. Why?
I can't see that we're patriots.
That's what gets me, dude. It's the utter shock that she's bewildered that she had gotten gassed and maced.
After
Like how
breaking into
when
the
she's
fucking
explaining it too, she's
Capitol
like,
building.
I literally just took one step inside the Capitol building and I got maced. Everyone's like, yeah. Like, why are you surprised? Like, but I'm a white woman from Nashville, Tennessee.
Yeah. Well, that's
we're here to support.
like, crowds of white people aren't used to the police doing anything to them.
That's
I mean,
what I'm
even the
getting at.
majority of those people didn't have anything happen to them. Like, they're so out of touch with the way that the law operates with average people that they feel safe just having their stupid faces on camera after committing felonies. They feel like they can just bust into buildings and take fucking selfies with stolen government property. Like, I mean, even like revolutionaries in countries that had real revolutions would be like, stop what you're doing.
Mainly because, and they would say that for one reason. Once they got in there, they had no idea what the fuck to do.
Yeah.
Other countries would be like, "Well, now that we have the Capitol building, we can put forth these kind of policies we want to see, or to like kind of control power." But this was just like, we're gonna bust through the door and then just take selfies.
They just meander around.
Steal Nancy Pelosi's podium.
Yeah, they busted through. They're like, we forgot the witch. Everyone go get the witch. We got to get that. That like decrepit old woman, like 100 years old.
Is that the one who was like walking down the stairs with like one hand like holding a cop's hand, and like she had like a little flag, and she looked like a hag raven or something like that, like
From Skyrim?
From Skyrim, yeah.
Yeah, like if you were walking through like a darkly like lit swamp and there was just like a putrid stench, and you walk in a corner and it's all her there with her little American flag, you're like, yeah, this makes sense.
Yeah, she did
that lady. God damn, dude.
Yeah,
I
and you
know,
Hansel and Gretel over there, you're like, oh, dude, this is just like I imagined
That
it to
poor
be.
lady, dude. That poor lady had no idea where she was.
No, yeah. She probably
She's like, how did I get here?
oh, you all going to
What
the
a
bus?
nice tour of the Capitol. Look at all these nice people.
I like to imagine that she was like on a hospice bus and she has like 3 days to live, and there's like, you get one more thing when you do, I want to see the Capitol, and then like just gets caught up in the Trump rally.
Yeah, a lot of people here today.
So it puts like Mardi Gras beads on her and gives her a little flag. I'm coming with us.
Oh God.
I wish that were true, man.
Yeah.
It probably is, dude. That is the brain capacity most people were talking about.
Old woman gets life's last wish of touring the Capitol during a party.
It's like the alt-right's Make-A-Wish Foundation. Like, what do you want? I want to see a revolution. We got you, Betty. Come on.
That's all this really is. It's just Trump's Make-A-Wish.
It's Trump's Make-A-Wish for this one lady who has dementia. That's what we real patriots do.
Does anyone have all the I mean, because obviously, like it was yesterday the 7th, when Trump came out and he denounced everything that happened. He sent them in, they did exactly what he wanted, and then he was like, fuck you guys.
And then he conceded the election. He conceded. Not just said he condemns everything that happened, but he actually conceded the election. Just throwing everybody under the bus that he just inspired. And oh boy, were they mad.
Does anyone have
Aiden, did you have
I got him pulled up.
Yeah,
Here's Bloody Louver. This is all on Reddit. Bloody Louver says, yeah, it hurts to say this, but fuck you, Trump. Confiscate the Coats says, fuck Donald Trump. This fucking piece of shit dragged us into DC for what? To leave us holding the bag? What the fuck?
I love it.
Oh god, it's so funny. I love
that
it.
they were just abandoned. Like, if I gave two shits about these people, I would just be like, bro, we told you, man.
It's just, it gets me. I like to think of like that reaction while also playing the image of Donald Trump, Ivanka, and then his son Donald Trump Jr., who is like, I think like 10 at the time, sitting on top of like this giant lion, and everything in the background is just gold. I'm like, you thought those were the people that were going to lead you into the revolution? Like,
He was gonna
that's
walk.
the guy that left you with the bag. Why are you surprised?
After this, it's too serious for anybody to stay on board. It's anybody, all the people like everybody in Trump's administration is jumping off board, not because they're suddenly learned the error of Trump's ways, but because if they stay on board, they're gonna see the consequences of it.
Exactly
Exactly right, man.
Yeah, it's like I'm only going to ride this as long as it's beneficial for me and my own personal desires. But as soon as now the balance has been tipped to being unfavorable for me, I'm jumping fucking ship
You
immediately.
don't get to start the fire, get scared when the whole building goes up, and then be like, well, that was not good. I'm sorry. Like, you're still like, you should still be held accountable for starting the fucking fire. Like, you
Yeah.
can't.
Trump probably
that.
only conceded because he wanted to avoid getting impeached over this, which didn't work. And now, now I think it's good that they're impeaching, even though it's pretty much symbolic at this point. But still, like,
Well,
it's good that there's some consequences for all this,
I think
even
it
if
might
it is.
it might be the only way to actually save the American image. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what I want for the 25th Amendment to be like, hey, look, world,
We have
we
this failsafe.
at least did this, 5 days before it fucking matters. But it's like you said, it's a symbolic movement to be like, we don't stand for this kind of crap from these kinds of
Yeah.
people.
I mean, there are benefits to impeaching him though. Like he doesn't get the Secret Service entourage for the rest of his life. Like there are benefits to impeaching him. He loses certain things in the future. Like he gets cut off.
He also can't not that not that we would ever prosecute him, because that would set a precedent, I think.
Mhm.
I don't think that we would ever prosecute him for his crimes, because that would set the precedent that presidents can be prosecuted, right? But maybe if he gets impeached, that's not setting the precedent, right? Because you have to get
Yeah.
impeached then to be, because every president has committed war crimes that they've
Yeah.
never been held accountable for. But if he's impeached, then that, they don't have to, they can prosecute him without setting that precedent,
Mhm. He also gets
But
barred from running for office again.
Oh, he couldn't run for another term.
Yeah, he couldn't run
Yeah.
for another term. He wouldn't get the Secret Service entourage. He would so I think you get like lifetime like wages for being a president at any point. You get cut off from that. Like there are benefits to him
and he
being
can't pardon himself.
he can't pardon himself. So like it's stuff like that where like it is largely just like a symbolic thing, which is he actually going to get impeached? I fucking highly doubt it. It's just going to be the symbolic like, well, we should probably do this. And like, oh well, Biden's coming in, so fuck it.
Well, he'll get impeached. Will he get removed from office? Probably not. Or, he'll get impeached again, because once again the House of Representatives is majority blue, but don't they need like 60% or like 2/3 majority in the Senate to remove him?
Yeah, like this is the way I'm looking at it too. Like, how long did it take for us to all get like the $1,200 stimulus check, and then somehow I'm going to believe that Donald Trump is going to be removed from office before Biden gets put in? Hell no. There's no way in hell that's going to happen. There's going to be too much division between the two parties. But if it did happen, I'd be excited. I think it'd be a good thing to do it. Isn't it really going to happen in actuality? I highly doubt it.
We'll see. We'll see. I mean, like,
impeach thing for sure, but removed from office, probably not.
right.
I agree with you, Aiden. I think that is very correct. Very correct.
I want to see him try, man, just because it's literally never been done in the history of this country.
It's
Like,
cool to have. Sorry.
No, I'm just saying that's a wild time to be alive. Like to actually be there for that,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh my God. The amount of once in a lifetime historical events that we've lived through in the last fucking like year.
Right.
The last 1 year is fucking stupid.
The generation with the most to be like, well, back in my day, except none of us have kids.
Yeah.
So we have no one to tell these stories to.
You feel it went out there back in 2020.
No one can ever back in my day fucking younger generations anymore.
No. I'm gonna have to like be crossing the street, remember something that happened in 2020 and yell at someone else's kid and be like, hey kid,
back in my day. Now we have to back in my day about the fucking coup that happened in 2021.
I just get this image of like Justin walking down to like the corner store to like go get a beer or something, and there's just like this old like paper like mask just like gently rolling down the sidewalk, being pushed by the breeze, and he just gets triggered and fucking goes over and kicks a dog. Ah!
All of that is likely except for the kicking the dog part.
Yeah.
Everything else is possible. I'm already like that. That's still just a true story.
Yeah, that was last week actually. I'm just reminiscing. It was a good time.
We were just talking about Oh fuck! I had something else I wanted to say. Sorry.
Do you guys want to take 5 minutes and then we can jump back out and jump back in?
I have to pee, so maybe not
Okay.
5. Like, give me a break.
Hey everybody, we're going to take a quick break, but please enjoy this message from one of our favorite sponsors.
There is nothing, basically. I mean it quite literally. But then how do things emerge? Here, I feel a kind of spontaneous affinity with quantum physics, where, you know, the idea there is that universe is a void, but a kind of a positively charged void. And then particular things appear when the balance of the void is disturbed.
And we're back.
And we're back. That reminds me of that one band, the I can ride my bike with no handlebars.
No
Did I say that?
handlebars.
Flowbots.
No handlebars. Oh yeah, Flowbots.
There's
Wow, that's a flashback.
I love the Flowbots.
They were good.
I love them so much. I forgot their name.
Yeah, I know. My favorite band. Who?
I wasn't into them when they were popular for a second, but then I rediscovered them later and was like, oh, these guys were actually pretty good.
You know what's really popular right now?
Oh, what's up, Brian? What?
You know what's really popular right now?
I do.
Storming the Capitol building
That
in
is popular.
Insurrection. That is very popular these days.
More
Nice
people
segue.
did that.
Yeah,
Top tier segue right there.
Yeah, that was. Yeah, this is why y'all pay me absolutely nothing. 'Cause you don't have any money. That's why I get paid the $0. I'm hoping, baby. Daddy needs healthcare. Okay, so I think it's so interesting too, like the way that like the right has come to like condemn the violence at this protest, if we'll call it that, or insurrection, whatever you want to call it. But it's like you guys have instigated this for so long, like this isn't a shock to anybody, especially too when like this was like
they're trying to distance themselves from it.
Of course, too. Especially like the actual planning of this event was in the works for months, and like there's no way that the feds didn't have any idea this was going on.
Facebook groups and fucking and like all over Parlor, it's just like been out in the open. They've just been planning it in plain sight.
Yeah,
like the fact that the police, like there's no reasonable way. Like people have been blaming the lack of preparedness on like the police being unprepared.
Like it was
They had
spontaneous.
all the information to be prepared. They just chose not to be prepared.
Yeah, and like earlier too, I talked about like how much money they have. Like just in DC alone, they have $460 million poured into just the police department alone. It's like with that amount of people, you have 2,300 officers, 460. That's almost $500 million. You guys couldn't do shit. It's like because you chose not to. Not that you couldn't, but you just didn't want to.
Right. Like other people were saying, if they didn't want them in the Capitol building, they wouldn't have gotten into the Capitol building.
No.
Yeah.
Not a
there's that photo circulating too, like when Black Lives Matter supporters were out there, and it was like fucking literally the National Guard on the steps and like tanks and shit. And then
for this, they couldn't get the National Guard out for fucking until it was just about over.
And it's like the cops not preparing properly. Cop died. Like they should be taking that really. I mean, they take themselves so seriously. They're always talking about worrying about their own. And the people who killed him are always talking about how much they give a shit about cops. Like, what happened? What happened, guys? Yeah. Somehow, like all of these protests that have been happening that are so like apparently violent that you say how bad they are. You guys do one thing and you storm the Capitol, kill a cop, get a woman shot. Oh, and like 3 of you had a heart attack. Yeah, it's ill proportionate.
Yeah. And now we're seeing people starting to get charged with they're bringing charges against people who are like the guy who had his feet up on Nancy Pelosi's desk just got arrested, charged with let's see, if convicted he faces a maximum penalty of 1 year in prison. And here's from a Utah BLM protest where paint was splashed on I think a government building. Utah BLM protesters get life in prison for splashing paint.
It's just insane to me. Like that, there's your duality. There's the difference between how people are treated. You can literally break into the Capitol, start breaking stuff, kill a couple people, and you get 1 year as a group. We're gonna go by the RICO standards here, like this group affiliation. And then someone happens to spill some paint on a Capitol building, and boom, you get life in prison. That's insane.
Yeah, even like the intentional act of defacing government property like that, I don't think first of all, a proposed sentence of life is so over the top.
Oh yeah.
Over the fucking top. I don't did that person actually get charged with
I
life?
don't know. I don't know.
Probably not. But whatever happened to them after that, I'm sure it was
Probably a plea
worse.
deal had happened though.
Yeah,
Like
well,
most cases don't go to trial. They take plea deals. And if you're getting charged with life in prison, you're probably going to take the plea deal.
Well,
Yeah,
that's the
exactly.
strategy.
Nobody's going to gamble on fucking life in prison. They're going to take the sure bet of less time in prison.
So, like, what would be the fallout of charging this guy proportionate for his crime? I mean, like, I think he should be getting way more than a year because he won't even
There's no
serve a year.
fallout. Prosecutors have all the power in this situation. The fact that he's only getting 1 year's worth of shit brought against him is just because the prosecutor in the case decided, the DA in this case, the DA or the attorney general, depending on who's bringing it against him, decided that they don't want to actually bring any charges against this guy because they could bring a serious amount of charges and do what they do for fucking everybody else.
Right. Well, they can't say that they're scared that it would like rile the base. What are they going to do? Storm the Capitol again? Like,
no, that's because the attorney general and shit is the base. Where's this guy from?
Yeah.
Fucking Virginia or something. Like
the guy who put his feet up.
The people who, yeah,
I think he was from Arkansas.
Arkansas.
Yeah, Arkansas.
Like, most attorney generals are fucking like the worst people, dude. Like, God.
It's
the people who go become the fucking like head prosecutor for your city or county tend to be like hella conservative.
Not the best person to put in place judging the value of a crime or the proportionate sentence for a crime.
They don't want to bring any charges against this guy. They're doing so because they feel like they have to.
By popular demand, a slap on the wrist. Yeah, that's
a charge of 1 year that could probably be plea bargained down to, like a fine.
Yeah, community service.
I think one of the more funny things about this is like if the people who like were so invested in QAnon and so invested in like being Trump supporters believed in the pandemic and wore masks, that'd be a lot fucking harder to find these people. Getting caught government. But because they don't believe in the coronavirus being a real threat, they all refuse to wear masks. They all got found immediately.
That's part of it, but I mean, even
we already talk about Derek Evans.
No,
Derek Evans, the lawmaker from Virginia who walked in while live streaming and said Derek Evans is in the Capitol.
Oh, yeah, the guy from fucking West Virginia.
Yeah, he just
from West Virginia. Oh my God.
He just got arrested yesterday. Pro tip: if you're gonna go, if you're in the middle of an insurrection, don't live stream and say your full name on camera.
Yeah, especially when you're a delegate from a state. Like,
this is like protest 101, right? They're like, don't take pictures of people's faces. Like, make sure you protect your identity in whichever way you can, because people talk to you. That's their disassociation with the law. That's how strong it is. Like, lawmakers walked in and were like, I'm also a revolutionary. Like
they're so disconnected from like the world that the rest of us live in.
And judging, by the charges that they were charged with, they're disconnected, and
they also live in a different world.
They do. They are correct. They do suffer different consequences for vastly proportionately different crimes, even. So
have you guys seen the picture of the guy who has like the buffalo skin hat on and he's just like covered in tats?
Oh, of course, he's everywhere.
Okay, you know what my favorite part about that guy is? The fact that he's wearing like ski gloves. So it's like no one will have my fingerprints on anything, but let me show you all these identifying tattoos in my face.
Yeah, right.
He got immediately. What didn't he get like didn't people find out that he was like in the Navy
identified
or something?
immediately.
Yeah, he was like in the Navy and got kicked out and
Well, he was a prominent figure in the right before that. Like
oh,
he
was he?
was attending rallies and stuff. Donald
Yeah,
Trump
he was
rallies.
going to BLM rallies and harassing people and whatnot, and
Well, he's one of the reasons that the
being
conservative.
QAnon. I saw a video of him yelling QAnon shit in a fucking mall in Arizona.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's one of the things. Like people on Twitter were like, the conservative narrative that these weren't actually Trump supporters. It was somehow all Antifa.
Mm-hmm.
There's all these like photo comparisons of that fucking jackass at other rallies and be like, look, he's here and he's there and now he's here. That's
And
it.
they cropped out the picture. They cropped the pictures right above where he's holding a sign that says "Q sent me." He's standing in front of a bunch of BLM supporters, right, with all their like Black Lives Matter signs and shit. And they crop the photo so that he's not carrying the fucking "Q sent me" sign, so that he looks like he's with the BLM supporters. It's like
I'm
just like
surprised that they didn't just like take that photo and use like Microsoft Paint to write Antifa over the Q. And they're like, he's the photo proof. That's just so crazy to me, man. I still can't get over it to be like, to watch that happen. And then the narrative you're going to go with because you're embarrassed at how stupid and fucking violent and useless your fucking folk are. You're like, no, that's the left. Nope, that's them. Those are the lefties. Those are a bunch of Antifas.
it's just their boogeyman.
Oh my gosh.
Anything bad happens, it's Antifa.
It's like it's comical. It's almost like when like the like 8th Fast and the Furious movie came out, and they're like, how many more of these can they possibly make? And then they make another. That's how I feel with like the conservative Antifa thing. And it's like that's Antifa and that's Antifa. When my grandma died, it's because Antifa did it. It's like just stop.
That's the conservative narrative.
So there's this image. I'll see if we can attach it to our Instagram. But there's a picture of the guy who has the buffalo hat, and to the left of him, there's a bearded white gentleman, and on his hand he has a tattoo. And then I saw these posts being thrown around that it was a hammer and sickle tattooed on his hand, but it's actually a tattoo from the game Dishonored. But it's just like, look, he's a hammer and sickle. He's part of Antifa. He's part of Black Lives Matter. And you just look up, you zoom in on his hand, you just type in Dishonored hand tattoo, it'll just blow your fucking mind. It's so
And also like a full blown Nazi, like travels the country,
Yeah.
for like actual Nazi shit, not just conservative shit, like real Nazi shit.
Yeah, yeah. The if I was gonna infiltrate any conservative organization, any single one, and just be like, look at me, I have a beard and I'm bald and I'm putting on weight too. I'm one of you. I would wear a mask. I have an excuse to, one. And I wouldn't want them to remember my face. And if somehow I was like, all right, I'm going to get all these people to storm the Capitol. Let's do it. And I antagonize that group. I'm still going to wear a mask. There weren't hardly anyone wearing masks who were storming that building. So those are the leftists. Like they're so dedicated to their insurgency of the right that they just like are the right now. So like they're not Antifa, but like they are, but they're still the. Come on. Like it doesn't take very long for this logic to break down really, 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 really quickly.
Here's the most convincing argument too that I saw for why Antifa wasn't there is if you look at the crowd, nobody has blue hair.
Oh, it's hilarious.
Yeah, I had to pause my mic because I was choking and laughing. Yeah, that was hilarious. But that's also kind of true. Like there are certain like expressions of people on the left, like piercings and I mean, and not to say that dude didn't have tattoos, but
Yeah.
I'm not looking at most of those people and thinking like, I might strike up a conversation with that guy until I found out he was racist. Like you could see those people from a mile away and be like, that guy's a fucking racist. Like I don't want to talk to him.
Yeah. I mean, if I'm gonna label people and put them in a box, I'm looking at a lot of the pictures from storming the Capitol Day, whatever the fuck you want to call it. But I would say, the picture I'm looking at right now, a good 80% of everything I'm seeing is just like a bearded white male in like a flak jacket.
Right. Yeah.
Like a bearded white male in a flat jacket. Like
Those
that's
are all the people that I know who want to take the government down and also read Marx. They're all big fat white dudes with it's just
yeah, that's the same guy who like drives down your street in like an 80s Ford pickup who has like a Blue Lives Matter flag as well as having like a Don't Tread on Me flag like 3 feet away and doesn't understand the duality between those two statements.
What was that hilariously was the Hard Times released that article like criticizing it like the day after. They were like a man who storms Capitol returns to normal routine of yelling at skateboarders in Walmart parking lots. I love the Hard Times, but like that's exactly who a lot of these people are. That's what they remind me of like, I take the law into my own hands. Says no skating.
I am the law.
But, you know, that being said, like that's the narrative they're going with. That's literally what a lot of them are doing. Like their suspension of disbelief is infinite. They will believe anything.
So I'm really curious to see what's going to happen with like the rights response to this, because like I have looked up a couple of things on like what a few choice senators have said, like what Ted Cruz had said in response to it, and it seems like they're all kind of like, this I looked at like jointly being like, oh, the attack on the Capitol was despicable, it was an act of terrorism, it was an insurrection. They're all kind of like condemning it, but I'm just curious if they're going to keep rolling with that and try to really cohesively put together some kind of bill.
It depends on how hard. It depends on how much pressure is applied and how long it's applied. Otherwise, I think I don't know. I really can't say because all of this is new. I can tell you what I hope happens, but I can't tell you, definitely what will.
Yeah.
I feel like every time I do that, I go back and listen to what I said, and I was like, oh, I should never make predictions like that.
All right, so let's make a prediction. I mean, obviously, everything's on the table at this point. I mean,
so we can go back and listen to this and then cringe and be like, oh, that was so.
Well, no, I think it's on the table. A bunch of jihadists just fucking stormed the Capitol, and Al Qaeda came in pretty hard and stole the fucking Nancy Pelosi's
specter. Honestly, like a big part of me wants to feel like almost like nothing's gonna happen.
Nothing's gonna happen.
It was almost like this happened, and now we're gonna talk about it. But I mean, like structurally, I have hopes, like I was talking about earlier, like the fractionalization of establishment parties. But like, I don't know. This country consistently like underwhelms me with its like. I mean, I'm storming the Capitol aside. I still think like nothing really changes much. When
so what would you like to see happen then?
The purging of all of the like Republicans who supported Trump, and then that like led up to this. I had read interesting opinion in a Jacobin to like replace all of the right-wing people who support the type of authority that makes it difficult for leftists and average folks to like protest, like those people who keep supporting the authority, like the authoritarian state and the police state. Like this is the moment to be like, look what they've done. Look what their control does. And I want them out. Those senators, those congressmen, and everyone else that's put in place on local and state level who help support that system to be fucking just straight ejected, so that we can start having people in those positions, since those aren't going to go away anytime soon, that allow for more peaceful and safer demonstrations for things that actually did happen, like George Floyd's murder, as opposed to a made up stolen election. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
100%. 100% makes sense.
That's what I'd like to see, but I don't know. Like I'm trying to be optimistic, but it's hard to be in these times.
Yeah, I would agree with that, especially when the optimism. I wish I was more optimistic. I mean, the only thing I think that is really going to come of this is nothing's going to happen. There might be talk of impeaching Trump. He's not going to get removed. And then if anything's going to happen, it's just going to have some kind of regulation that's ultimately going to hurt people protesting in the future. And that's going to be the only outcome of it. And then things are going to transition and Joe Biden taking over and his quote unquote hopes to unify the country. And I don't think much is going to happen in all reality.
I
It's just
hope-
fun to talk about because it's fucking hilarious. At least I think it's hilarious.
It is hilarious.
It's a bold stance, and I'm sticking to it. I think this shit is hilarious.
All these morons storming the Capitol for fucking nothing. Like, it's fucking hilarious for sure. But like,
Yeah,
some
I think the
dumb
fact that
shit's gonna come of it.
so many people stormed the Capitol, and it was like once they got through the front doors, they had no idea what to do. There was no like cohesive plan from that point. I was like, well, here now, what do we do? And nothing happened.
Yeah, the revolution occurred. It's over, right? I get to take a
Yeah.
trophy.
It's like their idea of a revolution was just the act of going into the building, and then somehow everything would just magically change and not put forth any kind of policy changes or put new people in power or implement any kind of structural change.
Also, if you live in the South and you're offended at me using a Southern accent to describe these people, I know people who have Southern accents aren't stupid, but a large majority of these fucking idiots come from your state. And if you don't want people to keep associating your accent with them, then you need to kick them the fuck out or deal with them.
Yeah.
I'm not mad at you, and I actually appreciate the fact that you have some fine universities and intellectuals down there. But
if you throw some shade about using Southern accents, I will happily just respond to you with some guy holding a Confederate flag at the Capitol building during the storm. Like, I love you though.
I don't know. I do feel like I need to. I really want to cut down on the using the Southern accent to like, portray someone who's an idiot because it's not true. But
Yeah.
I don't know. Is there anything else you guys wanted to add about this crazy turbulent week? We're coming up on the hour.
Mary Miller is her name. The woman who thinks Hitler is right. Illinois 15, Mary Miller says Hitler was right.
I think, you know what? I think instead of having the song play us out, we'll just have that like sound bite play us out. I wonder if we can use the person on Twitter who posted that, where at the end of the video, they're saying the quiet parts out loud.
They're saying the quiet part out loud. That lady's fucking hilarious, dude. They're saying the quiet part out loud.
I think that's what we're gonna do. I think we'll play it out with that audio. I'll try to rip it out from the video.
I like our new episode format.
Yeah, we're gonna try to go back to like more frequent postings. The holidays obviously were kind of crazy, and we were trying to do larger topics that we can't even bite chunks out of, So we're gonna do more current events and try to have more fun with this rather than try to act like big O smarties all the time.
It was also stretching me the fuck out trying to learn all this shit about shit that I know nothing about,
Right. We need to bring on experts, and we're gonna work on that. So
about those things, we definitely need to bring on experts.
we're gonna start looking for people who we can bring on to actually talk about these things. So that'll be the next step.
I've got to figure out how to read first before we do that, though.
We're gonna get Brian a tutor.
Yeah, I need a tutor. Hi, my name's Brian. I'm in my late 20s, and I never learned how to read.
But they give me a scalpel.
But they gave me a medical license.
And I'm in the Capitol.
And I'm in the Capitol.
But Bill Montgomery, who was instrumental in getting Turning Point USA started,
obviously.
said, Mary, we need you
global
because
pandemic.
you represent the family.
Hundreds of thousands
Each
have died in the
generation
U.S.
has the responsibility
DC hospitals, Virginia,
to
Maryland are all at
train
almost
the
capacity.
next
Why wear a mask,
generation.
right?
You
Why
know,
wear a
if
mask?
we win a few elections, we're still going to be losing unless we win the hearts and minds of our children. This is the battle. Hitler was right on one thing. He said, whoever has the youth has the future. Our children are being
This woman just said Hitler was right on one thing.
Two things.
They're saying the quiet part out loud.
Minds